Peace, y'all. It's God's son, feeling magnetic, feeling energized, feeling great, feeling powerful, feeling prosperous, feeling loving, and I'm just making this video right now to just break down some science on who you really are. Because for a long time, I know you felt like you don't belong. You felt like you didn't really have your space here, if that makes sense. You may have been here, but your mind was always elsewhere. You always felt like you were meant to be great, right? You always felt like you were meant to do something bigger. You always felt like something was missing. There was always that void deep inside of your soul that was telling you that there was much, much more than what it was you were experiencing. And throughout the course of your life, that led to instances of depression, hopelessness, internal sadness, and pain that you couldn't just put your finger on and identify the cause. So you started searching outside of yourself for answers to the questions that lie within. And slowly you began to forget about this pain, even attempting to mask it away through alcohol, through drugs, through illicit sex, through any kind of avenue outside of yourself, to forget the internal struggle and battle that you were going through and that you have been going through and that you are making your way out of at this time. That is why you're watching this video at this time. You're only watching this video because you are the elect. You are one of the select beings who is prepared and who is ready to realize and to remember. Because remember, we are dealing with remembrance, putting back the pieces of the puzzle. And so I'm just going to kick this science on who you really, truly are. And there's nobody that's really telling you this and going to break it down the way that God's son is about to put this down. So just listen up. Listen very closely. I love you.
Find out the purpose, we need to go and access several mythologies and give a synopsis on what happened to us. What happened to us. Now, a lot of times we get back, especially the Africans or the black people, we have to reiterate that because we're talking internationally. We get into it because we want to find out how we came fell to such a low point. But what we don't realize is we fell to a low point when we first came in to humanity. When we first became locked into the human stage. And that's where we need to go. And then we can think. So we'll go into a bit of the synopsis on this so we can answer later on what we're supposed to be doing. So basically, let me take a few things. Prior to this particular universe, what we would call the known existence of the Milky Way galaxy or what have you, because we it's relevant to the earth. We inhabited several primal worlds. Okay. And those primal worlds, well, they came in 1998 and they said, well, this particular universe is something like 14 billion years. So the primal worlds that we inhabited before this particular creation, which is about 14 billion years, we just give a number just for a synopsis. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You never.
Remember, 14 billion years is just conjecture. It's just conjecture. Remember, there truly is no past and there is no future. So when we're dealing with the time and space continuum, that's just what is necessary to keep us in a state of density. The third dimension can only work with time and space, which creates the fourth dimension. Time and space. But in actuality, everything is in the present. There is no time. There is no space because everything is interconnected through the field. You are me, I am you. You understand? So when we talking about 14 billion years, that's just a reference point so that our conscious minds can get a better understanding and have more of a clue as to the duration of so-called time that we're talking about. Because remember, we're not dealing on humanistic principles. We're dealing on a higher esoteric level. So the struggle that you may have gone through for 20 years, in the eyes of God, meaning in the eyes of your higher self, this is a blink of an eye. You see that blink? You see that blink? You see that blink? Every time I blink, thousands of years pass. Millions of years pass. It's all about our perspective and how we relate to time.
Prior to this particular creation, which is about 14 billion years, we inhabited several primal worlds that existed about 14 billion years prior to it falling.
14 years prior to this 14 billion.
You see what I'm saying? So we existed in these particular primal worlds. And those particular primal worlds were these high superior deities. And these high superior deities, in so many words, got old and started falling asleep or losing power. Their children,
as above, so below. As above, so below.
Which would be the gods that exist today, the ones we worship. Their children, those primal deities or entities, children rose up and thrust their parents into a physical existence, and they became humans. So we are the parents of the gods that we worship today.
Everything has been flipped and reversed. As Bobby just said, we are the parents of the gods that many of us are worshiping today. Everything was flipped over. And as you fell, because remember, he's talking about the primal worlds. I'm gonna get all the way into it. I'm gonna let Bobby finish up here. It's only a couple more minutes, but just really listen in, and I'm gonna go deeper into all the topics that are being discussed here, so you can really get a better and clearer understanding of who you are, your origin, where you come from, and where you're going. Because those are the most important things. Know thyself is key. Know thyself, and ye shall know all things.
Wow. Right.
And became humans. And so in our human existence, what we were supposed to do was to go to an incubation stage of the mummy that you see Osiris wrapped in the mummy.
Right.
Which was a cocoon. And it was a cooking vessel to cook the soul into perfection and sift out the flaws.
Sifting out the flaws. You go into a cocoon or an incubation chamber. So when we look outside of ourselves and we are to look to nature for examples of everything. Case in point, when you see a caterpillar actually transitions into a completely different entity. That butterfly that emerges from a caterpillar no longer even identifies itself with that caterpillar. You see, the caterpillar can be symbolic to the human experience, which is an illusion. You see, you are all knowing. You are God. You are not to remember, you are not to know or learn anything down here. You're just to remember and to bring up the memories out of yourself. Because nothing externally is going to show you anything, because everything is being projected from internally. So you go into this cocoon. This is a metaphor. Look at the so-called chrysalis of the butterfly. When it goes into this incubation chamber, this incubation state, it's protected. It's sectioned off from the world so that it can grow and become strong enough to finally flap its wings as it becomes a new entity, a new energy, and fly, take flight in all of its beauty and all of its splendor. That is a representation of self, of your journey. So to put that into perspective, it's like this. The reason you feel the way that you feel, the reason that you feel like there's something more, the reason you feel like you're being limited, the reason you may feel like you're nothing sometimes, is because your higher self, that deeper self within, is yearning to be exposed, to be re-exposed. You're the butterfly. You've experienced being the butterfly. So when you're laying and you can't fly and you are a caterpillar, merely just walking on the ground, you instinctively and intuitively know that you are supposed to be metamorphosized into something completely different, completely better, completely higher. And that's that process that Brother Bobby is kicking right now in terms of the cocoon stage. Remember, every so-called negative experience that you're experiencing is a sign that you are progressing, because you can only grow through the negative experiences. Remember, there is no negative and positive. It's all about based off of perception and polarity on this realm. So those so-called negative experiences are growing tools. They're lessons to be learned that you agreed to. Remember, before you incarnated down here, you agreed to experience and to take on all of the things that you've taken on. A lot of people have issues with this principle, but you created your parents. Remember how Bobby was just talking about you are actually the parents to the gods that you're worshiping? You are also the parents to your parents. That's why every generation seems to, if it's in a healthy state, it should always improve and build off of the previous generation. You are to be teaching and showing and being a guideline. That's what a child is. A child is to the parents. That is the God. That is the God figure. It comes out pure. It comes out as innocence, as perfection. And entering into the world, it can only be corrupted. You see? You are the mother and father to your actual parents. And everybody else that is placed into your reality. All the beings, all the relationships that you have, be they positive or negative in your mind. Remember, no positive, no negative. They just are. They're experiences. They're opportunities for you to grow and learn. Each and every one of those was placed by you, for you, to help raise you. Okay? So that's what Bobby's getting into and breaking down. So
made us fall in the first place. You see, there was a flaw in us that made us fall in the first place. And for so many years, millions of years, we had to sift out the certain flaws to perfection.
Right.
we had to sift out the certain flaws to perfection. This is dealing with the alchemical process. Remember how I was telling you, eat this, do this, go get this. We're dealing with alchemy. Alchemy. The transmutation of lead into gold. Of a spiritually dense being rooted in physicality, transitioning and shedding off of those layers into becoming what they once were, which is the gold. That is what the alchemical process is truly about. It's a spiritual resurrection into remembrance of who you truly are.
Thus leads us to the present situation of the perfected stone, the philosopher's stone, or the great work, or the golden fleece, the holy grail, the Excalibur, all these different systems that tell you about this perfection, the Christos, the Christ form, which is the perfected soul, perfected stone. So what happened was
The Christos. Remember, every single mythology is based off of yourself and your journey. The Christos, the Bindu. When we talk about the Bindu seed, that's talking about your higher faculties. So the Christos, or the Christ, is not an entity outside of yourself. Never, never, never place your energy and your belief in anything outside of self. Never place your belief, your energy in anything outside of self, because everything is you. And by placing your energy, your belief in a thing outside of yourself, what you're doing is you're giving away your own inherent power into an illusion. Christ. We're dealing with a consciousness level. Christ consciousness. Buddha. Buddha consciousness. Buddhist teachings, any line of Buddhism will tell you and explain to you that the goal is for you to become the Buddha. You are the Buddha. You're in a caterpillar phase, but the Buddha is your phase once you have reached your elevated state of the butterfly. Krishna, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you see you should be well read prior to embarking on your journey. You should have a basic groundwork understanding of these different spiritual systems, at least from a very basic and surface level, in terms of understanding and understanding what they're talking about and what they're discussing. All of these Messiah figures are aspects of yourself in your higher state and their levels of consciousness. Okay?
we took on a physical existence. Now, when we first took on this physical existence, we could maneuver just as gods. And that's where you get your Lemurian and your Atlantean period.
Listen, I gotta say this as well. When they're talking about Lemuria, ancient Atlantis, we are not dealing with physical, purely physical existences. That's why they will never uncover these ancient civilizations. They want to talk about Atlantis went underwater, or Lemuria is it's a hidden continent here or there. There are civilizations that have risen and fallen in terms of the physical realm. But Atlantis is a principle. It's a principality. You see, it symbolizes, everything is based off of symbols. Everything is based off of thought forms. So what Atlantis or Lemuria symbolizes is you in your higher self. And when you are in your higher self, you are not relegated to simply this physical realm. Lemuria and Atlantis will never be found until you lift yourself back up out of the water. Remember, we're dealing with science here. We're dealing with esoteric and occult mysticism. Once again, occult just means that which is hidden from you. Okay, so if you look at the lily in ancient Egypt, you know, the thousand-petaled lotus. The thousand-petaled lotus is symbolic of yourself, the thousand petals on your crown chakra. And what does it do? It raises itself out of the mud. The mud would mean the existence around you. Whether you living in the ghetto, whether you have, whether you're adopted, whether you, like I said, whether you've been beat, molested, any of the sick and perverted things that you must experience on this journey to raise yourself back up. Because think about this. Where has the most growth in your life came from? Be honest with yourself. It's come from pain and suffering. But you reach a level in your development where you need not suffer any longer. You learn from different experiences. Like I said previously, you learn from sound. You learn from light. You learn from the sound of your ancestors. You learn through movement. You learn through experience, positive, loving experience. The pain is great for building. But you've passed that level of pain. You've passed the pain stage. It's time to reach that joy stage. And I love you. I love you so much.
Into what is called a semi-physical world. So, in those particular days, the physical world
Listen.
was like a faint shadow, and the spiritual world was clear. As the vibratory rate fell, and we became more encased into the physical,
More dense.
the spiritual world became a faint shadow, and the physical world became visible.
As we fell, falling into sin only simply means falling into skin, lowering our vibrational rate, lowering our conscious state, and falling into a space where we lose our memory of ourselves. We get amnesia. Think about this. Everything is showing and reflecting to you what you have experienced. Amnesia. When you have a grandmother, grandfather, or elder who's experiencing amnesia and they forget who you are, they forget their memories, that's symbolic of you forgetting your memories. You could say, Grandma, you don't remember us going to this park with these turtles? We used to do this every single Sunday. I would take you over here. You know, afterwards we'll go get some ice cream or whatever it is that you used to do. That was an amazing experience. And she says, darling, I don't know what you're talking about. She's experiencing amnesia, the same amnesia you're experiencing. Just like Bobby is saying, you fell. There was a time when this physical world, because remember, this physical world is an illusion. You must. It's absolutely imperative that you do some study on the holographic nature of reality. Look up the holographic universe, please. The holographic universe. You see, the ancients talked about it. They discussed it. But if we're dealing more in terms of this old eon that's passing out, you need to look up the holographic universe and really realize that everything that you see is just a projection from your mind. And when you really understand that, then this physical realm becomes much more clear that it's really not physical. Everything is based off of ideas. Remember, all matter is 99.9% empty space surrounded by an idea. And I'll show and prove that. When you go outside, or even when you look around the room that you're in, anything that is man-made, what is that? Where did it come from? Before it was actually created, I'll give you an example. This cup. And I'm going to let you know I've been drinking sea moss. I told y'all the Chondrus crispus mixed with the bladderwrack contains 96 of the 102 minerals that the body needs to sustain itself. I also add a little coconut oil in there. Coconut oil gets straight to the liver and gives the brain high energy. You need a lot of energy when you're processing this high level of information. Remember, the CPU, or the computer that is known as the brain, it's a processor. It's a light processor. I'm giving you direct downloads of light frequency. So you need to be powered up. There's also some cinnamon in here. There's also some cayenne, you know. And so I just give you this game so you can start getting on some of these things to really boost your energy so that you can lift yourself up, because it does require a level of energy to come back up. Everything is based off energy and frequency. Okay, so that's the point I'm making is this cup right here. This cup. Number one, It's in a constant state of vibration. You think it's solid, but it's not solid. Just like we're not solid. This cup has fallen in a state of density to where it appears to be solid. All this is billions and trillions of molecules vibrating at a rapid rate, but at a certain space and a certain rate that keeps it in appearance of being dense. Everything is moving. On top of that, this cup first had to come out of somebody's mind. That's why the mind is all in the universe is mental. The first law in terms of the universal laws. And once again, these are the universal laws that were put in place. Meaning, when you ascend to where you are supposed to go, you can transcend all laws. Now, when you're looking at something, for example, the Marvel superheroes, remember, everything is trying to show you who you are. Everything is trying to show you who you are, who you were, who you are going to become. Because remember, the law of rhythm never ceases. The tides are always turning and flowing. You've fallen mighty, mighty far this direction, which is a great thing, because that will give you the necessary. You come all the way over here. That's going to propel you just as far back. You see, it was said that a pig experiences little joy because it experiences little suffering. The law of rhythm states that rhythm compensates. That is why I'm telling you, everything you've gone through, all the pain, all the suffering has not been in vain, because you will be compensated. All of the pain, all of the turmoil, all of the tumultuousness was not in vain. Hear me, it was not in vain. You are being rewarded for that. The joy that you can experience. Remember, a pig experiences little sorrow, therefore it experiences little joy. There's a whole lot of pigs walking around here. The chosen ones can always have their mark based off of their experience, based off of their pain, based off of the things that they had to go through to get them to where they are. Remember, it's beauty in the struggle. It's about the rose that grew from concrete. The rose that grew from concrete. So everything is relating to you. When Brother Bobby is talking about, yeah, you know, in terms of the fall and the senses that we once had, what do you think Marvel Comics is about? What do you think the X-Men is about? These are about the senses that are lying dormant within your DNA and within your RNA and within your plasma, which is why I always encourage you to eat the things that I tell you to eat, to get out into the light. Everything is activated by light because everything down here is condensed light. The Hulk. What is the Hulk? What is the science behind the Hulk? Is the Hulk not this little scrawny dude with glasses? But then when he reaches a certain threshold, listen to the science here, and I'm going to finish this little quick video up here. But listen to this science. The Hulk, is he not just a very weak, frail, what they would consider to be a beta male? This is also dealing with the female principle. You see, we live in this old world has been based off of patriarchy. But everything is dealing with the feminine energy. Don't ever let that fool you. But in terms of this story, it's dealing with yourself. When the Hulk, I think his name's Tobey Maguire, when he reaches a certain level of stress, he activates. And he turns what color? Green. What color is Asar? Osiris, the green god. it's been said that green is the perfect black. The only difference between green, and this is why you should be eating your greens for a plethora of reasons, but because the center of a green, anything that's green is chlorophyll. The center of a chlorophyll cell is dealing with magnesium. The only difference between your cell, green, the cell of a plant, which is green, and the cell of a melanated being, is the fact that in the middle of your blood cell, your red blood cell, you're going to find iron. In the middle of a plant cell, you find magnesium. That's it. So when they depict and portray, because remember, Hollywood's only giving you a glimpse. They letting you in, but they not opening the door wide. It's about you taking your motherfucking foot and busting that shit open. Boom! You're going to kick it wide open. And boom, you walk right into it. I'm home. I'm here. You feel me? But you have to really understand the science. So they painted him green. Symbolic of that perfect black. Symbolic of that Asarian energy. And so how does he activate? Based off of stress. They call it a mutation. Remember he had the mutation in the movie, he drank some shit, or however it happened, he got some kind of virus inside of him or whatever. Your genetics mutate. You don't evolve, you mutate. That's what DNA does. That's why I deal with the chaos melanin, the chaos energy. That's why I said in my flow, I said, look, you're not going to see it coming, so just watch the show. My third eye light up and shine with a golden glow. Because 1 second I'm here. That's why I'm putting all these videos out. I'm putting all this shit out so that y'all can go back in the archive, because it's not just you watching this. I got entities on other dimensions, on higher frequencies that are watching me right now, because they know I'm the God in flesh, remembering what I once was. This right here is epic. I told you, I'm going down as a legend. I'm a world changer. Like Pac said, I may not be the one to change the world, but I'm going to spark the mind of one who did. I'm that mind. I speak that into existence. I am that I am. I'm the head and not the foot. I declare and I decree and I proclaim that it must be by the power of my word. My word is bond. You see? So back on the science. Once he reaches a certain threshold, boom, activated. What is stress? What is the stress hormone? See, this is why the biology and the science of self is so important, because you remove the spookism out of anything. What is the stress hormone? Cortisol. Okay, I'm going to give you, I've done it, I've talked about it, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because you really need to get this into your mind. The stress hormone is cortisol. Cortisol, you can find that in several fruits. For one, the grapefruit. But the best way to produce cortisol is through the fasting, as well as through exercise. And then just being in these stressful motherfucking environments, around stressful ass people, hearing stressful sounds. Those things all do produce cortisol. But you need to reach a threshold. You need to push yourself. You need to push yourself. You need to be pushed if you can't push yourself. You need to be pushed to a level to where you can't take anymore. To where you feel like you're going to explode. That is great. That is perfect. Now, cortisol plus galactose equals luciferase, what they call lux genes. Remember, all of your DNA is your blueprint, and the RNA is dealing with the specific gene expression. You have hundreds and thousands of dormant genes, meaning light switches, that are just turned off. All you got to do is be like, well, I'm going to turn this, what does this do? Bing, pew. Like that? Let me see what that does. Oh shit. That's what it's about. So you need the cortisol, which is just naturally going to be produced. Why do you think when you fast, you start having spiritual experiences? Because there's a high level of cortisol. You're not eating. 80% of your body, 80% of your body's energy is used in digestion. That's why I told you stop eating the dense ass foods. I love you. That's why I'm telling you these things. Stop eating all that nasty ass fried food that's clogging up your veins. Remember, your veins is carrying the depleted blood, but the arteries are carrying the electron rich blood. Why do you think people got clogged up arteries? Stop putting that shit in there. The less dense you eat, the less that your body has to work on digesting food, and the more it can start working on your spiritual ascension. I'm kicking real science to you. So you need the galactose. It's 8 essential sugars that you need. Your body doesn't, if you're a melanated body, your body doesn't want to run primarily off glucose. It wants to run primarily off galactose. Think about it. Galactose, galactic. You know what I'm saying? We dealing with interstellar travel. So galactose, where is galactose found? I'm going to keep on saying this. I'm going to keep on questioning you until you really get this lodged into your subconscious. And if you don't know the answer, you need to watch all of my videos so that you can get that answer into your conscious mind, lodged in your subconscious mind, so you know what you have to be doing in order to really get yourself to raise up. See, there's different levels to it. It's different steps. First, you have to start getting conscious. But then you want to break the conscious program and get into your subconscious, so you're operating directly out of subconsciousness. But to do that, you have to have knowledge. Remember, it's a process to it. You can be born of knowledge about 15. That's when you can start getting knowledge. You don't really start catching wisdom until you're 25. But see, I'm immortal. I don't deal on those ages. All I'm doing is remembering. But in terms of these physical incarnations, it's about 25 when you start getting what they call wisdom born. You become born of wisdom. It wasn't until you know, the Christ really was at a certain space, a certain age per se, that his ministry began. Because we're dealing with numerology and we're dealing with metaphysics here. Every age is symbolic. Why do you think you got a quinceañera? Why do you think that there's the sweet 16? Or, oh, you turn 18, you're dealing with a 9. Born, 1 through 9. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Culture of freedom, power of refinement, equality, God. Build or destroy, and born. And then the 0 is going to cipher because there is only numbers 1 through 9. This is supreme mathematics. Learn the supreme mathematics. Learn the supreme alphabet. See what I'm saying? These are the keys and the codes that unlock the universe to you. I'm not going to get into the science of that right now. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to be right back right now. And I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to activate what I'm talking about. That's what I'm telling you. That all this is based off of you. Check this out. 1 second. So I said it time and time again. The Black Mission Fig. Crazy galactose. Crazy galactose. You eat 3 of these? 3. But you want to load up. I might fuck around and eat a whole goddamn pound. Load my body with the galactose. Go work out. Remember, it's the galactose plus the cortisol, and that's what's going to activate your luciferase. The luciferase gene, aka, which will be known in ancient Kemet as your Merkaba or your light body. And so the firefly, you've seen them little fireflies you used to see when you were growing up? That's symbolic of yourself because you actually have a light body. And I'm going to get into this a little bit, but this is just dealing right here with the different layers of your body. You have different fields of energy in your body. Okay? We're dealing with the etheric, the emotional, the mental body, the astral body, the etheric template, the celestial body, the etheric body. So you're not just a physical shell. This is just a shell. It don't even really exist. You have layers and layers that they would call your auric fields extending out. Like I said, a motherfucker who's smoking cigarettes and has a low level of consciousness, that his or her heart chakra is still extending out 22 feet minimum. So what you think a God body is extending? My aura extends for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. For light years and light years and light years and light years. That's why I told you there's entities on other planes who are watching this. That video count right there is not indicative of anything. I got ancestors up on Sirius right now that talk to me in my dreams, that tell me, yo, Godson, keep doing what you're doing. Keep on doing what you are doing. Because you're not just liberating your own self, you're liberating the self of all of the other chosen who are part of your soul group. Part of that 144,000. 144,000 is within. 144 of them chakra system. Now they talk about 160, they have different numbers, but that's what that 144 is talking about. Also, the 144 is discussing 1 plus 4 plus 4 is what? 9. Born. How many months are you in the womb? 9 months. This is science to it. That's the age of birth. That's why the age 27 is an important age, because you're being born. You're being resurrected. You're being rebirthed. So the galactose and the cortisol is what's going to activate your Lux gene, and that's the science. That's the science that's being broken down when we're talking about the Incredible Hulk. Once you turn on that body, you become superhuman. Super Heru. Horus Heru. Superhero. Superhero. Super Heru. Phosphorus. That's why you need the greens as well. High in phosphorus. Horus. The Heru energy. Horus is dealing with the light. Horus is dealing with the light. Horus is dealing with the light. I send you nothing but positivity. I send you nothing but high energy. I awaken you. I awaken you. I awaken you with nothing but love.
We sunk lower and lower into humanism, into a particular aspect. We used to have multiple gifts: clairvoyance, clairaudio. We could fly. We could do just about everything you see a superhero can do.
Right.
And it was maybe hundreds of different gifts that was reduced down to the 7 or the 5 senses, and we ended up with the 5 senses. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that primal world was covered over. That God form was covered over with something called the elder seal or the elder sign, and was.
We had hundreds of senses. What this is indicative of and symbolic of is our DNA being fully awakened and fully activated. That's what they're talking about with all this junk DNA. Once they did the Human Genome Project, they discovered, whoa, these motherfuckers got 97% of their DNA is non-coding. So let's just call it junk DNA because we don't understand it. We're not really trying to get into that. Then they start digging deeper. This is not junk DNA. There's nothing. Why? Like I said before, your gallbladder stores the bile that is secreted from your liver. The bile goes into your stomach. When you eat food, boom, it goes down your esophagus and into your stomach. That's where bile is secreted that helps to break it down so it can go into your small intestines, be digested and absorbed into the body, into the cells, and eventually into the bloodstream to be used to power up specific organs. So if you're missing a gallbladder, and they just say, oh, we're going to pull the gallbladder out, boom, then you don't have that storehouse for the bile. It's going to be difficult for you to actually digest your food. Just like your wisdom teeth. You need the wisdom teeth to project. Remember, we're dealing with vibration and manifesting, bringing heaven to earth. So you, everything you have for a reason. And so there is no such thing as junk DNA. There is no junk. God don't make junk. I wouldn't create this vessel anything less than being perfect. All I've ever been able to do is make it less than perfect. And the higher you raise your consciousness, the higher you get into your subconscious, the more your body, your mind, your spirit is naturally going to go into its natural state, which is perfection, which is its God state, God-esque state, its balanced state, its ma'at state. Don't ever let nobody tell you that a part of your body is useless. Don't ever let anybody try to tell you that, oh, you should cover this up, cover that up. Like I told you, I work out with no shirt on, no shoes on. And a motherfucker was like, hey, you ain't got no shoes on? You ain't got shoes on? He walking around with some Jordans on. You ain't got shoes on? I said, damn, last time I checked, I wasn't born with no Jordans on my feet. Fuck Jordans. Who the fuck is Jordan anyway? What has he done for me? What has he done for any of his people? What has he done? Think about this. What have these athletes and entertainers done? How have they truly changed society? How have they truly added value? All they provided is distraction. What benefit is it for you to sit down on your couch, eating a goddamn bowl of Cheerios and watching niggas run up and down a court or throw a fucking piece of pigskin across a field and tackle each other wearing tights? It's good entertainment. And it's a great platform if you got something greater to say. That's why Muhammad Ali can say, I am the greatest. Because he used his platform to elevate himself and elevate his people. That is the mark of greatness. I don't give a fuck if you jump from a free throw line. I jump from goddamn half court. It don't matter. I'm not even relegated by 94 by 50. 94 by 50 being the dimensions of a basketball court. That's a box anyway. You still boxed in. Your mind's still shackled. So I told this motherfucker, look, I wasn't born with no Jordans on my feet. I'm pretty sure I came out the womb butt naked. And boom, he thought about it. Damn, you speaking truth. Peace. You know, so don't ever let anybody make you feel discouraged about your body. Or, oh, you don't need this. We'll just pull it out. Hold up. You just gonna pull it out, huh? Nah. I'm not going for it. I'm just gonna leave it in. Because if it wasn't meant to be, it would come out naturally. Think about this. All the trees, they naturally are going to cleanse themselves in the right season. In fall, the palm tree is going to start falling with fall. You don't have to go up there and start cutting and chopping shit. That's all some left brain stuff. That's all disruptive. It's naturally going to prune itself, just like your body will, if you put it in its natural state. So yeah, so you have all these, you had all the senses. This is now it's starting to make sense. This is why you have felt so down before, so depressed, so saddened, because inherently you know that you're greatness, but everything around you is trying to make you feel like you're less than even human when you're not even a real human to begin with. Once again, we got to get out of the human experience. See, it's about departing the human experience and taking your consciousness into a state of godhood. And a lot of people shy away from this because of their indoctrination. But prior to Christianity, prior to any of the so-called organized religions, which were based off of the ancient Kemetic mystery school and mystery system, it states that we are to become godlike through a life of righteousness. That is the goal. To gain the Christ Bindu seed, to activate ourselves and to ascend past the human experience of limitation back into our all-knowing state. Remember, shout out Ramzel, as I said, the mind of God is outstanding, for it stands outside of the box. The mind of man is boxed in and confined. What do you want to be? I made my decision.
The seal of the elder sign and was covered over with now what you call the physical brain. The physical brain is the enemy, and as humanity is the enemy. And up under the physical brain is the primal world, which is the pineal gland. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is the pineal gland. And so we talk about an incubation period, which the inner world, which is the pineal gland, the kundalini energies, the chakras, there's 160 chakras. You see what I'm saying?
Body, right. Yeah.
Yes, and when you look up into space, when you can see these chakras and you can see these particular souls, when you look up in space, those are the souls that's down here inside of the human body, covered up, and we're dreaming outwardly. So we have a series of dreams that we call the illusionary phenomenon that we call reality. It's nothing but a trick from the brain.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? To give us a series of illusions that don't even exist while the soul slept. And as the soul slept, these series of dreams became known as the ego. And the ego, the self that you identify with now, that what you call yourself a human.
Right.
And as that, and it supposedly thinks that it is real, but it is not. It is only a construct or a projection of one's dreams coming from the soul. So, we created, go ahead.
I was going to say that is perfect.
That was deep. That was deep. The brain. The human brain. The ego is the enemy. While at the same time, the ego is the friend when it's properly sublimated. Have you seen the bark of Ra? The bark of Asar? Riding on his bark? I'm going to show you this picture because I really want y'all to really get all this. The mind and the human experience. The human experience is the enemy. That's why I told y'all. I already said, fuck a conscious community. It's not about being conscious. Because if you're being conscious, that means you're still stuck in the illusion. You want to be subconscious. You want to go back into the triple black darkness. You want to go back in the triple black darkness. The triple black darkness. And out of that, you can create new light. You can create new light. You can create new light out of the darkness. But if you're living it out of consciousness, that means you're still living out of your true, your lower self or your ego. Like, oh, the police did this and that. All that's doing is keeping you down and putting your emotion, putting your thought forms into something that's an illusion to begin with. Nobody died. Remember, death is an illusion. So these are all just illusions in a series of illusions that build up your ego. Think about children. Think about when you when you've done your best work. You're not in your ego state. When you get in that so-called zone, right? Ask any athlete when they're in a zone. When I get in a zone, I'm not thinking. I'm not in the ego state. I'm doing. I am, because I'm in the higher self. So an athlete can get in that state temporarily, but imagine living out of that state. That's where greatness comes. That's where a master is born. When they're constantly operating out of the subconscious. That's why I said get out of the conscious mind. Watch the other video talking about breaking free from the consciousness or programming your light through darkness. Like, I'm kicking high science. Like I told you, I'm flooding it. I'm just flooding it right now. Because like I said, I'm not always going to be here. My work will always be here. My energy will always be here. But this physical body's not always going to be here. You know what I'm saying? But generations and generations to come is going to have this map laid out so they can make their own personal ascension. You know what I mean? Because I love you. So we talking about the bark of Ra. We're talking about. Let me pull this up for you. We're talking about the ego. It must be sublimated. It must be sublimated. And that's getting into, and that's dealing with the science of Asar, Heru, and Set. You know, if you haven't checked this out, you should get this right here. This is a great book on the subject. This one's called The Asarian Resurrection. The epic story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, the heart of the ancient Egyptian religion. You need to know this. You need to at least know this before that biblical shit. And so we're dealing with the bark of Ra, or the bark of Osiris. And what you're going to see on the bark, as I told you, words are confusion, symbols are truth, and silence is golden. This symbol means more than every single word in the entire English language times a billion, trillion, gazillion. Just this symbol. Just by taking that into your eye gate, that's powering up DNA. That's powering up your RNA. So anyways, you know, as I was saying, when we're dealing with that bark, which is the boat, I'm looking for a picture, but it's, oh, you know what I'm saying? Something like, I think I just saw something. You know, it's not that important right now, but the bark of Ra is going to be dealing with. There's Heru, Set. That's dealing with the mythology. And the fact that the ego would be symbolic of Set. Set being your lower self. Set being your lower self. Your lower self is not bad in and of itself because you need the lower self. You need confidence. You need an ego to even be here. But it's not supposed to be running you. It's not supposed to be ruling you. That's why it's mind over matter. Meaning the higher self over the lower self. God over the devil or Satan. Lower self Set. Your Satan energy. That's your sexual power. Your sexual fortitude. Your in and of itself is not a negative thing. It needs to be harnessed. You can't just be out here just spreading your legs for any motherfucker that want to come in. No, never that. That's sexual energy. It's supposed to be used and sublimated. That's creative energy. That's root energy. I'm about to make a video dealing with the sexual energy too. Check that out when I load that up. But yeah, so you'll see on the bark, it will be Asar, and then with Isis or Aset, and being pulled by Set, which is the lower self. So the lower self is supposed to work for the higher self. So it's supposed to work as a team. The problem is a lot of people are letting their egos move them around and dictate everything because their higher self has fallen asleep at the wheel. So the ego is just running wild. So that's what that's about. It's about sublimating the ego and making the ego work for the higher self and for the benefit of the higher self to bring the higher self in to control from the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind will be more of the ego based, and the subconscious mind will be more of the higher self in control over everything. And so that's basically the science of what I wanted to break down for you, so that you really get an understanding of why you've been feeling depressed, why you've been feeling saddened. And right now we're in a huge time of shifting. So if your body hurts at this time, that's a good thing. That means you're shedding density. If your body is in any kind of physical pain and it feels like it may be falling apart, that's because it is, because you're receiving a new body. Remember, this is just a physical body. And you need energy to be able to produce these bodies that are, you see what I'm saying? More than physical, metaphysical. You see? And so, yeah, so that's really what I was just trying to break down. This right here is dealing with Isis Unveiled. You know what I'm saying? Decent little work, but I just pulled this one out just to really further shed a little bit of light on the fall. So you really realize, like, damn, the reason you feel like you know, when you were a young kid, you wanted to jump off tables and jump off your bed and pretend like you were flying and a superhero. It's because you are a superhero. Those are abilities that are just locked up. But I'm the Ankh. You see? That's the key. A conviction founded upon 70,000 years of experience, as they allege, has been entertained by Hermetic philosophers of all periods, that matter has in time become, through sin, more gross and dense than it was at man's first formation. Man/womb man. That at the beginning, the human body was of a half ethereal nature, and that before the fall, so-called fall in consciousness, or sin into skin, man communed freely with the now unseen universes. But since that time, matter has become the formidable barrier between us and the world of spirits. The oldest esoteric traditions also teach that before the mystic Adam, many races of human beings lived and died out. Remember, many races of human beings lived and died out, each giving place in its turn to another. When they talk about 145 alien genes, I talked about that in the other video. Google it. They say you don't get some of your genes from your ancestors. They came from other entities, other beings. When we talking about Nephilims, I'm a Nephilim. I got Nephilim DNA. Giant DNA. I'm a giant. When I look up into the stars, I'm looking at my own brain. When I look at the sun, I'm looking at my own solar plexus, as above, so below, as within, so without. I am the earth. The center of the earth is what? Pure iron. I got iron in my blood cell. Every one of my cells is an individual universe. I'm a giant. The Nephilim. Anunnaki. Those who fell from the stars. Planet Nibiru. Planet X. So I'm saying these are dealing with parts of yourself. As within, so without. Were these previous types more perfect? Did any of them belong to the winged race of men mentioned by Plato in Phaedrus? It is the special province of science to solve the problem. So that's basically what it's talking about, is that there was a time when, just like Bobby was saying, where this visible physical world was just a faint shadow. And we moved in between the different planes. We were more stationed on the astral plane because we were more in our higher self. As we fell into density. So that's further breaking it down, so you can really get a good grasp on why you felt the way you felt, why you've always felt different, you know, why you wanted to label yourself as an indigo child, or you know what I'm saying, a crystal seed or star seed, or all these different words and terminology are just indicative that you have blood, the blood of Christ within. And you want to get your blood to boil. You want to get your blood to boil. Remember, everything's talking about the blood of Christ. It's all in your blood. Cleanse your body. Cleanse your mind. Cleanse your psyche. And it's about death to the human experience. You've got to learn to let go. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Be still Go within. It's all you anyway. Much love, much peace, much abundance, much prosperity. I truly hope, and I more than hope, I know, and I feel that this video is having a profound and has had a profound effect on the way that you now perceive your reality moving forward. And that you must raise up to your greatness. You've been in the chrysalis. You've been in the cocoon. You've been in the classroom of life. Now it's time to reap as you've sown. Rejoice. Life gets better. It only gets better. GODZSUN. Love you so much. Peace.